Okay, so good afternoon, Miss Leonard. I assume that you're the only one that's going to be watching this. This is my presentation on the literary comparisons of the two stories, Uglies and The Perfect Match. Yeah. Firstly, I'd like to get into the overall expectations I expect for myself. I expect that I shall be able to provide a 10-minute lesson on the two stories, Uglies and The Perfect Match, comparing the literary elements. I expect that I shall be able to make known and make it understandable to the students what I'm trying to do here um in comparing the two novels. The learning goal for students is that they shall be able to comprehend the two parallels between the two stories and be able to evaluate scenarios and make their own comparisons by the end of the lesson. So with that being said, let's get to it. So firstly, I'd like to give a general summary on the two stories. Uglies is a novel written by Scott Westerveld. It's of the post-apocalyptic genre and is set in a dystopian future. As for The Perfect Match, um, it follows essentially a working man and his eccentric neighbor trying to expose what they suspect and judge as a flawed system. Let's get straight into the plot elements. The literary elements number one, which I found was the plot elements. So I found that the introduction or the exposition of both stories are similar in the sense that in both of them, we are introduced to a government or a system of power that is basically overseeing and looking over people, giving them limited decisions, limited ability to be able to do things by themselves, think by themselves. They basically have everything set in place in order, making it very hard for people to, break out the box, think by themselves, create things in general. So yeah, that's just a general comparison. Going into more detail in Uglies, the government has essentially separated the people. So basically, if you're ugly, ugly stay in Uglyville. The pretty stay in Pretty Town. Yeah, there's no much blending of people. It's just people divided just solely based on their appearance, which really does not make much sense. But that's the way the society is structured in the novel. As for the perfect match, the system in place, it makes decisions for people, essentially meaning that they have an AI called Tilly, and she essentially influences people's decisions and forcing decisions upon people, as we see many times with the protagonist Sai. A quote I found by Jenny was when she says, Tilly doesn't just tell you what you want, she tells you what to think. This really shows how people are really starting to lose their ability to think by themselves, losing their ability to function without the help of someone else because they're so used to this AI, telling them what to do, what is what. So yeah. The next literary element I'll be moving on to is the direct characterization in the two stories. I found that Shay and Jenny, two characters in the two novels, have proven to be a bit eccentric, and the author of both stories has managed to show this in a direct manner in both stories through what other people say about them. So yeah. In Uglies, Shay is very, very creative. So some of her ideas at times come off as wild to others that do not share her same creative mindset. This can be seen on page 30 of Scott Westerfeld's novel when Shay proposes to Tally that they go on a roller coaster, and Tally, never having done such or anything close to such, calls Shay insane because she's never like heard of that idea. I'm not even sure that at that point she even knew what that is. But yeah, Tally just found that Shay was being a bit reckless and being, you know, basically Shay. So yeah. Next, direct characterization in The Perfect Match. Jenny is a bit too careful with the AI. She seems to be taking too many precautions and she's suspecting the AI too much to the point where like it makes her seem odd. Sai shared his point of view on Jenny when he says she was indeed eccentric, perhaps too much so, on page 8 of the short story. So yeah, when Sai went to Jenny's house, he saw that there were scraps of metal all over the walls. There were just monitors lying everywhere. So Jenny looks to be too cautionary, too suspicious of the system, that it makes her seem kind of weird to others. So yeah. Moving on, this third literary element that I'll be comparing is indirect characterization in the two novels. So, the authors of the two stories have that indirectly displayed that Shay and Jenny are hesitant to obey the rules and regulations set in place by the governments in their two societies. So, yeah, that's just a general comparison. Moving on to some detail. So in Uglies, Shay really does not understand why society is structured and made to be the way it is. She doesn't believe she's not brainwashed like the masses are. This is seen many times when Shay's having to correct Tally, or not recollect correct Tally, but like provide some insights on some of the things she says. Cause Tally is already like too far deep into the matrix. Like there's no really saving Tally, because like she already believes all the propaganda that the society is trying to sell to her. So Shay just at times has to shed some light onto Tally's mindset and her way of thinking. So yeah. Um Now, as for the indirect characterization in the perfect match, Jenny thinks that people should be able to make their own decisions, and we can see this through some of the words she says. That's how the author displays the indirect characterization in the two stories, is through what the two characters say. So from that we can judge kind of their own ways of thinking. So a quote that shows this is, so when Jenny says, "You buy what Centillion wants you to buy, but are you truly happy?" So here she's kind of questioning whether the decisions that Tilly is forcing upon people is actually proving to benefit them and leading to a healthier, happier lifestyle. So yeah, she just in general does not trust the system. Next, I'll be moving on to the conflict in the two stories. So, a conflict that I found is similar in the two stories is the fact that the source of conflict is people trying to battle the society that they have found themselves in. So, yeah. I'm going into more detail in Uglies. People are essentially forced to make the tough decision of whether to stay ugly forever, or becoming pretty and forgetting everything about their previous lives, living a dull lifestyle where they essentially party, have fun, and do all sorts of things every day, which to me just sounds unhealthy. So yeah, there's no really good option here, and these choices are forced upon people. You don't want to stay in ugly because there's a lot of discrimination against that group of people, and becoming a pretty is just dull. So yeah, there's no really good option here. Next, I'd love to talk about the conflict in the perfect match. So, the society in the novel has been brainwashed into believing that the AI Tilly is made solely for the benefit of the people, which is essentially untrue. That we find out at the end, and this is seen when Jenny says that Sentient is an algorithm that has gone out of hand on page 12 of the novel. So yeah, society is essentially made to believe that this AI is made strictly for their benefit, not knowing that they're actually it's actually influencing their overall day-to-day decisions. So yeah. Next, I would like to discuss a theme that I felt applied to both stories, which was you will never be satisfied with the decisions others make for you concerning matters of the heart, especially because they're not truly yours. So yeah, I created that theme, and I think it applies to both stories. First off, in Uglies, Shame was frequently explained to Tally just how brainwashed she is, just because she's never been given the opportunity to make her own decisions. So Tally is essentially a byproduct of society in the novel. So yeah. Next we move on to the perfect match, the theme in this novel, how the theme applies to the novel. So the AI essentially has power ownership of everything that has to do with the people. So people essentially have lost all ability, all function to make decisions for themselves. So yeah, that's how the theme makes correlates with what's going on in the perfect match. Next, finally, is character similarity. So the protagonists of both stories, Sai and Tally, are quite brave people in their respective stories, which is what I found. So, yeah, in her many journeys that Tally makes throughout the story, she's faced with various tasks and trials. So, yeah, she's essentially made to combat this, and she does combat it with courage and bravery. And as for the character similarity in The Perfect Match, Sai bravely volunteered to deceive the AI. So yeah, Ty essentially went on an undercover mission to try and like figure out what the AI is doing. So yeah, that's really brave because if he got caught, who knows the precautions he would I mean the consequences he would have faced. So yeah, that's my literary comparison presentation. Thank you for listening and yeah.